This is episode 37 of the Inland Empire Workers' Compensation Lawyer live stream podcast. On this episode, we're discussing federal workers' compensation claims. So if you're a worker in California, but you work for the federal government, then the normal workers' compensation insurance system isn't available for you. It's a separate system, and that's what we're discussing today. But remember, it's not legal advice. It's educational, but the discussion is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, dial our injury helpline 844-984-8414 and request a free consultation. With that said, George, what can you tell us about the federal workers' compensation benefits available to workers here in California?
So that's governed by FECA, Federal Employment Compensation Act. Alex, as you know, if someone gets hurt in California, we file a claim, DWC-1, with the WCAB, Workers' Compensation Appeals Board. Now, there's some exceptions to that. We already covered one in one of our prior episodes.
That's the court for filing workers' compensation claims, where if you have a dispute with your employer, you go to this particular court. It's set up by the state of California.
Right. Federal employees can't be filed at the Workers' Compensation Appeals Board because they are governed by FECA. And FECA is administered by the U.S. Department of Labor. So you have to file it with them, you go through them, and all federal employees have to do this.
The Federal Employees Compensation Act, FECA.
Correct.
It overrides the state laws, the state labor laws. The federal government says, no, we're actually going to override that. We have our own system that we control. Yeah. Whether or not it's better for you, well, that's what we're talking about. So if you have been injured at work and you're a federal employee, how can you use FECA? What's going on with this situation? What can employees expect?
Yeah, and this comes down to jurisdiction. As you know, federal law supersedes state laws. Federal government is the big brother, and states have their own laws, but federal laws, supersede state laws. So these federal employees are taken care of by the Department of Labor, and it covers civilian government employees. Some of these positions include, but are not limited to. So once again, if you have any questions, reach out to us. We can answer those questions.
Oh, who's covered? Yeah.
TSA. So all the TSA agents at airports, those are covered by FECA. Border Patrol agents, obviously, because Border Patrol agents, you don't have like Texas Border Patrol agents. You don't have, Arizona Border Patrol agents.
Okay.
You have Border Patrol agents. They're out there protecting the border, the U.S. border, and they are federal employees, not state employees.
But they're not military. They're something else.
Correct.
Right? They get workers' comp under the FECA.
Correct. So it would be under FECA.
Then other entities like postal workers are also covered under the Federal Employees Compensation Act. So if you're a postal worker, you just can't go right to the state Workers' Compensation Appeals Board. You have to apply for benefits under FECA.
Right.
So how are these benefits different than normal workers' compensation benefits for these employees that we've discussed who work here in California, George?
Yeah, so as a whole, they're generally the same, right? As a whole, what I'm saying is if you're going to get medical treatment, okay, you're going to get your medical treatment paid for, you're going to get benefits while you're off of work as well. But if you get down to the nitty gritty and if you take down these benefits and compare them to regular workers' compensation benefits, they are very, very different. And this is the reason why you need someone that's experienced to help you guide you through these nuanced differences between workers' compensation and FECA handled workers' compensation claims. So one of the differences is it's handled by the Department of Labor. There is no third-party administrator. That sentence might not mean a lot to our viewers and the people out there that aren't in workers' compensation every day, but a third-party administrator is the one that administers the claim, the workers' compensation claim. Here, there's no one that's going to be administering the claim. It's all handled by the Department of Labor.
Okay, so your claims adjuster is going to be another federal employee that works for the U.S. Department of Labor.
Right.
Whereas if you have a state claim, it's likely a private insurance company or
Right.
state compensation insurance fund, which is a quasi government entity. It's like kind of civil servants, but they're actually technically a private company in ways.
Right.
And another thing that you got to know is that if you are a federal employee and you fall into one of these categories under FECA, most of our videos, you can probably disregard a lot of the stuff that you see online.
Correct.
Because most of the stuff that's online, including everything that's on our channel, is regarding California workers' compensation, that falls under the state jurisdiction, not federal employees. That's an exclusion. So that's why we wanted to put out this video to point that out, and also let you know that we do have experience helping federal employees with catastrophic injury claims. So if you're a federal employee and you've been severely injured, then you are going to want to look for an attorney.
Definitely, yeah. Another difference is that there are no UR. There's no UR in FECA.
So if our viewers, federal employees, have seen our videos and maybe they've just found this one and go, oh,
utilization review,
I don't have to deal with UR. I just got to deal with a federal employee.
Yeah, so it's a good way. It's a good thing and a bad thing, because UR could be very helpful if there's no utilization review. If you can't appeal something and it can be reviewed by UR, right? Then what you need is a second opinion from the doctor. That's what they're going to request from you, to get a second opinion from the doctor to certify that. They even request a second opinion for things that are very valid and very documented, Alex. So even though if the doctor is requesting something, maybe medical treatment, and he puts in the request through FECA, they're going to need a second opinion sometimes to get that certified.
Yeah, so the Department of Labor will ask that your primary treating doctor be reviewed by a second opinion. That's what you're saying.
Correct.
They're going to do that like every single time
Right.
on every single injury. But what happens if you disagree with it? Is there any way to?
Unfortunately, there's no judicial review. So
What does that mean?
There's no review. You can't appeal that. It's what your doctor says, and if you get a second opinion, it is what it is.
Okay, so you can't do anything about that like you maybe could in the state courts.
Correct.
Well, that's extremely different. But I do think that federal employees are probably treated pretty good.
I think so.
And the need for lawyers is probably much less.
Right.
But if you are in a situation where you're being denied this type of claim and you think that you were doing something that should qualify you, if you're a family member and you've lost a spouse or a loved one, someone who you depend on financially for help, and you're going without payments because your spouse died or whatever, and you think that they should be entitled to these benefits, you might seek an attorney.
Definitely.
To help apply for those benefits and make sure that the processes are done right.
Yeah.
If you cut your finger and you work for the post office and you want a workers' compensation lawyer, it's probably not going to produce much money for you.
Right.
And that's what I get. I do get calls from federal employees sometimes, postal workers who have smaller types of situations. And unfortunately, I say I can't help them. But if you do have a catastrophic case, something that requires an attorney,
call us.
call one.
One last thing is the primary treating physician, right? Usually, and through our videos, we tell our clients it's very important that you seek the right one. And sometimes you have to go through the MPN. If it's an accepted claim, you have to use their medical provider network. Well, one good thing with the Department of Labor is that you can choose any qualified physician to be your physician. So you have a broad spectrum of physicians, as long as they're qualified physicians, that you can choose from. You can pick your physician. Wow. And that's really good.
True, huh? You don't really need a lawyer if you got a federal claim then. I mean, you get to pick your physician. You don't have to deal with a third-party administrator. You deal with another federal employee.
Yeah,
There's no utilization review because everything gets approved. And man, I think it's probably a pretty good system.
I think it's a great system. I think that you are correct. If it's going to be a run-of-the-mill injury, and by that I mean, maybe a broken foot or things like that, you don't need an attorney. I don't think you do. You should still consult an attorney, because we might be wrong. This is not legal advice. Please consult an attorney, especially if you feel like you need to. Don't just say, oh, well, they told me I might not need one. No, your case might be different. So definitely consult an attorney, but you might not need one, Alex. But if you do have a catastrophic injury, it's always a good idea to consult an attorney. Right. And you possibly could need someone to guide you through this difficult system.
Could be a third-party claim.
Yeah.
You could have been working and you could have been severely injured, and although you don't really need a lawyer for your FECA claim, for your federal employee compensation claim, you might need a lawyer for that third-party case against someone who hit you. If you're a Border Patrol agent and you were rear-ended, or you were in a catastrophic accident, or something happened, you have another person to sue. You also might choose an attorney who knows about your federal employee compensation benefits. In fact, it's probably really important that you do, because you're going to have a lien from the federal government. You're You're going to have to deal with all that stuff. You need a lawyer.
Yeah, and what if you're on the job, you're delivering mail, and I know this never happens, but what if a dog bites you, right?
Third party.
That's a third party
Strict
claim.
liability in California. If a dog bites you.
Or you get hit by a car while delivering mail.
Yeah,
anything can happen. So once again, please give us a call. We're here to answer any questions. And this was a topic that might not be a broad topic. It might not apply to a lot of the viewers. But hey, if you have a friend, family member, loved one that is a federal employee, then they might find this information useful. So we decided to make this video that's very narrow for those type of people, right? And for their families.
Yeah. If you're out there and you work for the federal government and you have an injury on the job, give us a call, 844-984-8414. We'd be happy to give you a free consultation. And for more information, you can visit our website, www.workerscomplawyerinc.com.